Hey, welcome to World Entertainment, and we have a lot of news actually happening at the moment about Avengers, Doomsday and Secret Wars in terms of what the directors are planning to do and tease what Doctor Doom's going to be all about, including what they're saying the runtime of these movies possibly could be. Something about Doctor Doom that's actually a little concerning, to be honest with you. Then we're also hearing what possible spoilers may be in here for what Doom's plans are, Loki's role, and how they replace Kang. Now, all that part could be just rumor, but we'll have a look at this. So to start off with, we're going to look at what the directors are planning, which is to outdo ENDGAME. So it says, Avengers, Doomsday and Secret Wars will be helmed by the Russo brothers, the filmmaking duo behind Captain America the Winter Soldier, Civil War, Avengers Infinity War and ENDGAME. The multiverse saga has been a little hit or miss, especially with Marvel Studios expanding the MCU to streaming. However, if anyone can deliver two critical and commercial hits for Kevin Feige, it's got to be Joe and Anthony Russo. There's a lot to unpack with what's written there. Number one, hit and miss. No, it's all been miss. And to try and say it's absolutely going to be a hit with these two, no. Just once again, we always have to say, look at what happened when Russell T Davies went back to Doctor Who. Didn't work out, did it? So it's saying, talking to Games Radar, of all places, Joe addressed their approach to Doomsday and Secret Wars. Unsurprisingly, they're setting out to top the stories they've already told in the MCU, saying, absolutely, we want to beat those younger versions of ourselves. We have to be, right? Because we have to outdo those movies in a way, or we at least have to take you on an equally engaging journey. Anthony added, these movies are an incredible opportunity for us, and they're an incredible opportunity for audiences. So we're doing what we can to deliver the experience everyone, I think, hopes for. So that's what they're talking about with the movie, that they're basically going to try and top Infinity War and ENDGAME. Problem with that is there's been no build to Doomsday and Secret Wars, and that's a massive issue that I think the way they're talking, they don't really seem to understand that. That's how it sounds. In the fact that there's been no build-up. Like, everything started in Phase 4 and it was meant to be, it's going to be multiverse and Kang is our big bad. And then that all went to shit and they went, we have to pivot. And by pivoting, they never actually started to answer any questions. Instead, they just left things on the table and on the floor. We've only now recently got somewhat of a reference to the great big fucking thing hanging out of the ocean, and they don't really talk about it all that much. It's like, hey, there's a celestial sticking out of the ocean, and it's like, okay, we'll just use that as a way of getting adamantium, and it's like, okay. So it's very strange. So they're talking about as well, or at least there's some talking about saying about Iron Man, basically Robert Downey Jr, and what their plan is there for Doctor Doom. And Jake's Takes Joe explained, interestingly enough, Downey decided to go back before we decided to go home. I had dinner with Downey about a year before we agreed to do the movie, where he was trying to convince us of why we should do it. We just didn't have a story to tell or a way in yet, and then it hit us. That changed when Stephen McFeely figured out the plot of both movies, and Anthony reiterated his excitement to see what Downey brings to the table as the evil Doctor Doom. And he said this, Robert is one of the most talented performers on the planet. For him to be motivated to explore a new character like Victor Von Doom, it doesn't get more exciting. So basically, again, this is where you hear they don't actually have a plan, and they're not really sure of how these movies were going to come about, because from what they've just said there, it's, Downey Jr. talked us into doing it, and we talked him into doing it, without any of them actually knowing, hey, what's actually happening in the multiverse and stuff, what's going on, and they don't seem to know. So then we get to the point of this whole idea of the runtime and stuff. So it's saying the Russo brothers have plenty of MCU experience after helming The Winter Soldier, blah blah blah, all those movies. It's fair to say that Doomsday and Secret War are in safe hands, and in an interview with Collider, the duo weighed in on the likely runtimes for both movies. Joe told the site, "If I were a betting man, I would say the first one is 2.5 and the second one's 3 hours." With that, it seems we have the current goal for the Multiverse Saga's 2-part final, likely based loosely on where they're going with the script for Doomsday and Secret Wars. When it was put to them that set photos could spoil some of the biggest moments for fans, Joe said, "We're pretty good about shutting that down." Anthony added, "We've sort of strategized to hopefully be effective with that." Yeah, it's called filming it on a set instead of actually out in the open. So, you're hearing that they're talking about the run times for these things being between 2.5 hours for the first one and 3 hours for the second one. Problem is, we've also heard them mentioning that at least one of them could actually be over 3 hours. That's a long ass movie, and it's like you've really built nothing up to do that and get it to work in that way that people will be willing to sit there for 3 hours plus to watch it. But then of course we get to this part which is a bit concerning regarding Doctor Doom. So it's saying Joe and Anthony Russo are doing the press rounds to promote their latest movie, Netflix's The Electric State, but talks have inevitably turned to their immediate Marvel Cinematic Universe return for the next 2 Avenger movies. While speaking to E.T., that's Entertainment Tonight by the way, not bloody E.T. the Extraterrestrial, the filmmakers were asked about the shock announcement that Robert Downey Jr. would be leaving Tony Stark behind to play the villainous Doctor Doom in Doomsday. Anthony revealed that the actor is very hands-on with this role and has fully immersed himself in Doom to the point where he's actually writing some backstory for the character. This is what he said about that. He's writing backstory, costume ideas. He just really loves rich 3-dimensional characters, and I think he sees a real opportunity here. And it says, "We wouldn't read too much into this, as at least we can't imagine Downey Jr. has decided to completely alter Doom's origin." Now this is the part though that's concerning, is they have him and they're letting him write a backstory to him and even coming up with costume ideas. The reason I say that is concerning is, number one, Robert Downey Jr. probably doesn't know a hell of a lot about Doctor Doom. But more so, it's the fact that, no, you're an actor. You should just accept the role, read the script, see if you like it, and then perform it. The idea that he's going to be given pretty much control of at least the backstory to the character, it's not a great idea. It really isn't. Just look at what happened when they gave control of Jean-Luc Picard to Patrick Stewart. You think, who knows him better than Patrick Stewart? He is Jean-Luc Picard. If anyone's going to nail this, it's going to be, oh no, we absolutely destroyed it. Oh no, he didn't know what he was doing. That was a terrible idea. Who allowed that? Same thing could happen here. Robert Downey Jr. just wanting to make his own mark on this. I don't really think that should be done. I think take the ideas from the comics and use that. That's a little concerning, hearing that they're allowing him to have that type of hands-on approach to the character. It's different if you have the script already and he can look at it and say, could we do a bit of this maybe as well and stuff. That's different, that's giving a bit of input. But actually letting him write the backstory and come up with costume ideas and stuff. The costume ideas is also extremely worrying, because that's the case of this guy needs to commit to putting the mask on and keeping the mask on. Stop these characters removing the masks, especially the villains. And this idea of, well, you can't see them emote is bullshit. It really is. When you look at Darth Vader, you could tell what was going through his mind. You didn't need to see his face. Simple head movements and body movements, you could tell what was going on there. Same thing could be this. That's why everyone praised Karl Urban when he played Judge Dredd, is he refused to take the helmet off. He's like, I'm not taking it off. That's not who the character is. Dr. Doom needs to keep the mask on. We know he's not going to do it because you're not going to hide Robert Downey Jr. But the idea that he's going to have ideas for the costume, I don't like that idea either. But then we get to these possible spoilers about Doom's plans and some other roles, including the answers to Kang, which is strange that keeps coming up because they apparently answered that in an episode of What If. I can't remember which character it is. I keep hearing it and then I keep forgetting. But one of the characters apparently just throws out a line and says, it was a woman anyway, I just can't remember who it was, and she was like, oh yeah, I took care of all of that very quickly, and they were just like, oh okay. So it's saying here, the Cosmic Circus Alex Perez had shared some exciting rumors about the movie today, starting with Doom's plans for the multiverse. So possible spoilers here, so keep that in mind, but also keep in mind these are rumors. So it says, he explains that the villain sets out to stop the incursions from happening, thereby avoiding a multiverse collapse. Like Thanos, he sees himself as the hero and is likely on the warpath after he who remains silenced his and every other universe by creating a single sacred timeline. Now, Doom wants to take the reins of his timeline and win his freedom. Perez goes on to explain that while the Council of Kangs has obviously been dropped from a movie originally titled Avengers: The Kang Dynasty, it's not as simple as Marvel Studios swapping Kang for Doctor Doom. However, it's still a very similar story being told, and that's that the remaining heroes of the remaining worlds of the multiverse have to find a way to save their own universe and how they go about in doing that, even if it means the destruction of the other universe to save their own. You notice there though, it doesn't say how they're actually changing or getting rid of Kang, even though, again, it's in What If. It's also revealed that those who side with Victor Von Doom view him as their savior, with that just one of several key elements Marvel Studios is looking to pull from the Secret Wars comics. Others include the multiverse's impending destruction due to the incursions and heroes battling their multiverse doppelgangers. Doom is unsurprisingly expected to be Avengers Doomsday's lead, but the Fantastic Four, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, Captain America, Captain Marvel, Wong, Bruce Banner, and a handful of mutants will be key. As for Loki, he's described as the movie's MacGuffin, as the race against Doomsday will be a race to see who gets to Loki first. So that idea sounds horrible, doesn't it? That is one of those, oh, we're going to use Loki like Luke Skywalker in The Force Awakens, where it's like, oh, we're going to keep mentioning him, but you're not going to get him until the end of the movie. I don't know, it sounds horrible. It really does, doesn't it? It just sounds horrible. And from what we're hearing the rumors of as well, they don't even know who's actually going to be in these things, so I don't know. You know, as again, take all of this with a grain of salt, but they want to outdo themselves, which is no surprise. Are they going to do it? Probably not. Probably fail. They want the movies to be super long. Will that happen? More than likely. Ironically though, all the movies lately have been getting cut down to being under 2 hours because they're so bad. That's why. But we'll wait and see what happens. So again, take a lot of it with a grain of salt, except for the whole idea of they want to outdo themselves, the runtime, and the fact that they have said Robert Downey Jr. is writing a backstory for Doom. So with that, I shall leave it there for this one. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.